So, welcome friends. Today we will begin the syllabus of Group 1 APPSC History. AP History and Culture becomes a very important segment in the Group 1 for your success because of the 50 marks it has got, and also the kind of importance it gets when it comes to, say for example, the kind of weightage it gets. Now, generally, people tend to write Indian history to an extent, but in AP history, it is actually people tend to lose marks because of the lack of proper information, proper understanding. Some of you might have also studied for UPSC, but I'm sure you might not have been able to, read AP history or AP economy. So one sure strategy for success is to join, is to join exam with a proper syllabus. Let's see. Since Satohanas are very important dynasty who ruled over the Deccan. In fact, if we see the significance of Satavahanas, they represent the first state formation, territorial state formation in Andhra and Deccan. Of course, we do have something called Asmaka Mahajanapada in the 6th century BC, which was actually extended up to Nizamabad. But generally, if you see a formal state, very clear-cut administration and the formal political history of both Andhra and Telangana, the Deccan, actually begins with this kind of scenario. So basically, what you need to understand is they are significant because as far as Andhra Pradesh is concerned, they represent the first big dynasty that ruled over. And if you see entire history from ancient period till today, it was Satovahanas who actually ruled for the longest period of time. 220 BC, we have the beginning of Satavahana rule. After the decline of Mauryas, Ashoka died in 232 BC. So if you see, we have the first founder of Satavahana dynasty, who is called Sibukha. He was obviously a feudatory of the Mauryans, and there are some differences. One second. Sorry, it's online, so somebody is calling. Hello? Hello? Yes. Yeah, class is on. You can join. ఇది ఎవరు ప్రశాంత్ మాట్లాడేది ఎవరు ప్రశాంత్ క్లాస్ వెళ్తామని చూస్తున్నారు. I mean class, others are watching. Class is in progress. Yes. Okay. You go the same way how you logged in earlier. Right? But okay. Sorry for that. Somebody was not getting access. So actually, switch over to online has become difficult for some people, access issues and all that. So you're saying that the first important aspect about that, after the decline of the Mauryans, Ashoka died in 232 BC. So there are two views. According to one set of historians, the Satavahana rule, like Bhadratka, for example, they might have started as early as 230, 2 years after the death of Ashoka. But anyway, now it is more accepted that 220 BC could be the beginning of independent rule of Satavahanas under Simukha. That is an important point. And after that, we have a line of 29 rulers. Total 30 kings ruled Satavahanas for a very long time. So 220 BC to So almost 230 AD. So 450 years we had Satavahana rule. And you tell me any other dynasty in Andhra which had ruled for such a long time? There is absolutely nothing. Of course, Vengi Chalukyas did rule for a longer time, but not as long as Shatavahanas. Even Kakatiyas did not rule Andhra for such a long period as an independent dynasty. So, friends, in entire Andhra history, the first and foremost significance of Satavahana rule is that they are able to rule for such a long time, and this period is very important for the formation of Andhra culture and many aspects about religion and the social systems. Another important aspect is that Satavahana period is significant because for the first time we have the spread of Aryan culture, the North Indian type of Aryan culture coming to South India. Satavahanas have taken pride in maintaining the Varnashrama Dharma. Okay, so it was the period when the differences, cultural differences between North and South were actually getting thinner, they were getting matched. That's why Shatavahana kingdom has also been called as the Bridge Kingdom. You know, it is called Bridge Kingdom because it bridges the gulf between the North and the South. So basically, there are different aspects about why and how Satavahana rule is significant. It's also important to note that in the entire history of Andhra before the modern times, till the East India Company had come and when we had the European trading companies and others, this was the best period of trade. Of course, Vijayanagar did have some trade, but if you see the global reach of Andhra products, Andhra economy had actually gone to such a level that it had taken place in a very robust way. So economically, this was very potent period for Andhra with lot of name and fame for the Andhra products. And friends, more importantly, culturally, Andhra presents very interesting cultural scenario. Now we don't see Buddhism in Andhra, right? But at the same time, one of the strongholds of Buddhism, and to an extent, one of the important aspects about Jainism is that how it was steadily expanding in the south has also got something to do with the Shatavahanas. So why Satavahana rule is significant? Satavahana rule is significant because it was the first grand territorial state in the history of Andhra. After we have Asmaka Janapada in the Telangana region. But anyway, this is now that Andhra and Telangana got bifurcated. We need to understand about Andhra. So you mentioned that it is the first, if I understand, that it is the first important state in Andhra for this. And the second important aspect is that it is also equally important to understand that economically, culturally, Andhra had reached peak of its development in the Satavahana period. This is the significance. Now, for example, any history or any topic in Andhra Indian history, especially ancient, we need to have some understanding of the sources. This is not an objective type examination, as you are all aware, right? The objective type examination, you need to know a lot of bits, but some kind of factual orientation is also required for the base to see, to have an effective argument. So friends, sources becomes very important to make an argument in the mains examination. So let us also try to understand what are the broad sources for Satavahana history, right? Generally, sources are always divided into two. One is literary, the second one is archaeological. In literary sources, what is very important is we do have religious sources as well as secular sources. Okay, in the religious sources, the most important aspect is Puranas. Actually Puranas are 18 in number. That is called Ashtadasa Puranas. Okay, Ashtadasha Puranas, that means 18. Ashta means 10. Ashta means 8. Dasa means 10. Ashtadasha. We have very important Puranas which were written. The writing of Puranas had actually started in the post-Mauryan period, but Puranas got their complete shape in Guptan period anyway. So we have Vishnu, Matsya, Vayu, Brahmanda. These are the Bhagavata. These are the five important Puranas which give a lot of details about Satavahanas. What kind of details they give? They mention genealogies. They mention names of the king and their important developments and all that. These are genealogies. So in fact, the entire line of 30 kings of Satavahanas comes to us from Puranas. Of course, this will be corroborated with other sources. So Puranas becomes a very, very important source for Satavahanas. Similarly, we do have Dharmasastra. Manu Dharmasastra is written in the post-Mauryan period, 2nd century BC to 3rd century AD. And it is believed that Satavahanas did adopt Dharmasastra bound rule in Andhra, and in fact they are the first to do so. That's why they have taken titles like Eka Brahmana, Agama Nilaya and all that, which means that they are trying to enforce Varna rule in Andhra as far the Manu Dharmashastra is concerned. Manu Dharmashastra, Satavahanas ruled for 450 years. So it is after the 1st century AD that the Manu Dharmashastra became very important in Andhra. So that is also either you take it as a religious source or you also take it as a jurisprudence. That is also one thing. Then Buddhist texts. Buddhist texts also give us some idea into the kind of philosophical and cultural development. We have Madhyamika Vada, written by Acharya Nagarjuna, who is actually a very important Buddhist monk who lived under Yajnashri Shatakarni's patronage, that is 172 to 202. This was the time he was ruling. So, Buddhist texts written in this period also gives us some kind of insights into what kind of development that had taken place. So, that's a very, very important aspect you need to remember. Then, friends, Shatavahanas are also a very, very important segment in the sense that we do have secular writings. The most important thing is Gada Saptasati. Gada Saptasati is written by Hala. He is a 17th king, probably ruled around 50 to 64 AD. This is a broad period. Actually, different sources give about 10 years, 6 years rule for Hala. But anyway, it's not a question about chronology. But broadly, remember that Hala, the 17th king of Satavahanas, ruled in the middle of the 1st century AD, and he wrote a very interesting book which is called Gada Saptasati. It's a collection of around 700 erotic stories. It's a collection of around 700 erotic stories, and in this process, they also give a lot of details about social and economic conditions. For example, it actually talks about punishments. It talks about how people spend their time, men and women in the Andhra region at that point of time were very happy and gay. They used to spend time with, say, for example, consumption of liquor and alcohol. They are very fun-loving people. Today also, Andhras are fun-loving people. So that's a positively. These are the important aspects, and what kind of colors like, what kind of dress they like. All these details also comes from Gada Saptasati. When we talk about Shatavahana society, we do need to take some points. So Gada Saptasati also portrays some kind of linguistic developments about Telugu language and others. So this is a very, very important area you have to remember. And we have other texts also apart from Gada Saptasati, which is in Prakrit. And friends, Gada Saptasati is an important text because it is supposed to have inspired Vatsayana to write Kama Sutra. Whereas Gada Saptasati has an erotic mix. Vatsayana in full French lineage is about sexuology. So it is inspiration for Vatsayana Kama Sutra. Then we have another work, like for example, Kantantra Vyakaranam. Kantantra Vyakaranam by Sarva Varma is also another important work that is produced at this point of time. Kantantra Vyakaranam. Okay. It's about grammar, but in the same time, we do have very, very important aspects that we come across in this. We have another book called Brihat Kada, which is by Gunadja. This Brihat Kada is important because we need to mention this in the cultural developments of Satavahanas, where the so-called tussle between Sanskrit and Prakrit has actually started. This is written by Gunadja. So these are also important books we need to understand. So we have some of the later texts which are not actually written in the Shatavahana period, but for example in the Gupta period we have Kada Sahasra Sagar of Swamadeva Suri. At the same time, we do have other references in some of the books like Harsha Charita and all that. But these are the basic period-oriented texts that we need to remember. The next important aspect is, apart from literary sources, we also have archaeological sources. There are inscriptions. In fact, the clarity about Andhra history at that point of time is mainly brought in by the inscriptions. There are 34 inscriptions of Shatavahanas kings ruled by different people. However, we do have some examples. For example, we have Nasik inscription of Krishna or Kanha, who is the second ruler. I have mentioned here. Then he is a brother of Simukha. He talks about how the land grants were actually given to Buddhists at this point of time. It's also important to note that various other inscriptions, which anyway we'll talk about it, that's why I'm not writing on the board, or about say Gautami Balasri's Nasik inscription, Nagarika's Nanaghat inscription, Pulomavi's Macedonian inscription. Then we have a host of inscriptions which do Pallava Sivaskandar Varma's inscription, Vaidavol inscription. These are some of the inscriptions which directly issued by the Satavahana kings as well as indirectly brought in by the others. That is also one important point we need to remember. So, numismatics or coins are also a very, very important source. Friends, we have the coins of Satakarni I. Which, first of all, in fact, Simukha's coins, let's begin with the founder of the Simukha's coins. Simukha's coins have been found in Telangana. We have Kotlingala and we also have Kondapur near Hyderabad, which is now the hub of high-tech city. We do have the evidence for coins. They provide very important source. For example, inscriptions and evidences are very important source to understand how the origin of Shatavahanas had actually taken place. That's a very, very important point. The second issue is that we do have coins of Satakarni, as I already said. We do have coins of Gautamiputra Satakarni, who had reminted coins of Nahapana, Seka king. The very fact that Gautamiputra Satakarni, actually defeated Nahapana is known to us by the coins. We have Yagneshri Satakarni who had issued coins that shows ship symbol. That means they had promoted trade and commerce. So like that, coins also provide a very important way. Now, why are we spending so much time on this? Because in a remote area, there is a possibility of question on what are the sources to the Shatavahanas. Okay, Shatavahanas, in the mains, we can expect about 5-6 questions. Again, in that, questions like what are Buddhism and what are the important aspects, what is the growth of Buddhism are very important, but sometimes they may also ask about sources if the paper is very traditional. This is a plan B question, you just read monuments. The last important aspect about the sources is monuments. Shatavahanas have a lot of monuments. which were actually in the time of, say, for example, in the form of in Nasik in Maharashtra, we better we have some of these things right from Krishna cave temples onwards. We do have some monuments which are constructed. Amaravati is a very big hub, of course. And Nagarjunakonda is also very, very big hub. So these are the sources that we come across the Shatavana. Okay. So friends, the point is that there is absolutely no paucity or diversity of material or information as far as Shatavanas are concerned. We have complete understanding. Now, having seen sources, let's move on to you know. There is a chat box that might be available to you. I hope you are able to see it. If you have any doubts, you can actually send a message to me. That if you are unable to see, you have my number. Now you can call me. If you have any doubts or WhatsApp me, I will explain to you. Okay. So now let's move on to the main, very very expected question. Do you think Shatavahanas are Andhras? Okay, or critically examine the various theories about the origin of Shatavahanas. Let us see that. In other words, we are talking about the origin. Okay, why Shatavahana's origin is very very important. The discussion on Shatavahana's origin is very important, essentially because of three aspects. Now, these are the rulers who ruled for very very long time. Okay, and these are the rulers who had actually made a huge mark in cultural aspects, right? In kind of cultural developments that they had great achievements. So they ruled over multi-linguistic regions. For example, whether it is Andhra or Maharashtra or even Karnataka, they ruled over multi-linguistic regions. So everybody wanted to claim that they are ours. They are ours. Andhra is a native place like that. It is just like this. If you some of you get top ranks, all the coaching institutes will be after you to climb. Even you attend one test or one thing, then because of me only they got the ranks and others. Generally I desist from this. I don't want to claim that because of me somebody got a rank. It's because of your hard work you are getting. But the things have become so commercial in this field now. Even parents ask, how many ranks you got. See, I have been teaching many years. There's so many of my students who got ranks in economy, history, essay. Nowadays, of course, now I am having full-fledged batches for entire batches. But I never maintain the data. In fact, once the student gets rank, I am happy and I forget him. His life he will live. I don't want to harass him that because of me I don't publish photos and all that. But nowadays it has become very important. I should you please get some top rank, all of you, and I will also climb now so that I will get some good recognition. Okay. So anyway, so like that, if somebody is doing well, somebody gets a rank, everybody wants to climb. In the similar way, when Shatavahanas became great achievers, everybody wanted to climb. So anyway, let me be very exam focused. If there is a question on origin, what are you going to write? How do you understand? The debate about origin of Shatavahanas is important because they ruled over a multi-linguistic regions. Okay, and they also had different geographical presence. They were seen in Maharashtra, they had a capital, they were seen in Andhra. To a minor extent, they were also in Karnataka. So that's the reason the conflicting claims about origin of Shetavahanas had come up. So basically, there are different theories about origin of Shetavahanas. Now there is a historian called Suptankar. He is the man who actually says they could be the origin, or they could be originated from Karnataka. This idea is that there is a Macedonian inscription of Pulamavi, and also we have some of the inscriptions of Pallava Sivaskandar Varma, which is called Benakate inscription. These two inscriptions are in Karnataka. We do find some Kannada terms in the Shetavahana administration here and there. So that's the reason the Suptanka says they are from Karnataka. But anyway, this is not accepted when we, why? Because even though it is not accepted, we have to write like this. You know why? Because whenever we see origin of any dynasty, we need to look into the early kings, not the later kings. Now, my native place, whether it is judged by my father's, where I'm from, basically, if we see entire my family history, where I'm from, my father's forefathers had to be seen, not my grandsons, So, like that, we need to understand the fact that the early history of a family or a dynasty has to be understood for ascertaining the nativity, not the later one. So, Karnataka origin is based on some of the later inscriptions, which is Mayakadoni inscription of Pulamavi, and also the Benakati inscription of Pallava Sivaskandar. But anyway, you need not worry about it much. You simply write me like this. It is not accepted now. Okay, it is not accepted. Then the second one is another insignificant one. We have a historian called Minasi. Mirasi is a historian. He also says they are not from they were neither from Andhra or Maharashtra. They were from Vidarbha region, which is not at all accepted. It's very minimal support is there. The third is important. That is Maharashtra origin. We have Gopalachari, Srivas, Iyengar. Then we have even Bhandarkar. For a long time we were saying that they are also from Maharashtra, though lately a change in opinion. So Gopalachari, T. Gopalachari, Srinivas Iyengar, and Bhandarkar, and a host of others believe that Shetavahanas were originally from Maharashtra origin. Okay, because of two aspects. Most of the inscriptions of Shetavahanas are actually found in Maharashtra, whether it is Krishna inscription or Nasik inscription, Gopi Balasri's Nagarika Snanagat inscription, and you see Paitan was their capital, and Nasik, Karle, Kanheri, we do have a lot of architectural monuments of Shetavahanas. So no doubt Maharashtra was the hub of Shetavahanas for a long time. Okay. So it is on these grounds that they believe that Shetavahanas were actually from Maharashtra. Okay, friends, at the same time, it is important that you need to see how Shetavahanas were actually moved from Maharashtra to Andhra or Andhra to Maharashtra. The Maharashtra theory is fine to the fact that no doubt Shetavahanas had their prime time in Maharashtra. But then, were they from Maharashtra? Current evidence is not supporting that. That brings us to the next theory, of Andhra or Telugu origin. Okay, Andhra or Telugu origin. This is by Srinivas Iyengar, Gopalachari, then Bhandarkar. This is by Rapson, Barnett, and others. Andhra origin theory, Andhra Telugu origin we should say. So Maharashtra origin appears good. It's not totally without substance, but at the same time, we have other evidence that has come by the efforts of scholars like Parabrahma Sastri, Abson, Barnett, and Parabrahma Sastri. Now, what is this? We have Simukha, who is the founder of Shatavahanas. His coins have been found in Kotlingala, which is in Telangana, which is in Karimnagar. This is supposed to be the first capital of Shatavahanas, and they were founded. Then we also have early coins in Kondapur, which is in Hyderabad. In Karimnagar, we have an ancient fort at a place called Pedabankur. This might be the one which was also referred to by the Megasthenes in his description of the towns and cities. Okay, important towns and cities. So it works out like this. Satavahanas were originally had a Telugu origin. They were from Karnataka. Sorry, they were from Kotlingala and Telangana region. The first capital has been shifted to Paitan because of two aspects. One is economic, the second one is geographical. The economic aspect is that Paitan is in the center of north and the south. Okay, so it is like a big trade route junction. So it is more better for trade and commerce if somebody is located in Paitan than in Kotlingala in Telangana. They will get more revenue. That is one thing. The second important aspect is strategically and militarily, it is better to go upward from Kotlingala rather than coming down for expansion. Because whole up to North India, up to Rajasthan, so Gautamiputra Satakanya went up to Rajasthan, according to Nasik inscription. Marubhumi, it is called Marubhumi in those days. So that is how we need to understand that the shifting of capital from Kotlingala to Paitan had happened on two strategic reasons. Two reasons. One is military, it helps them to expand further. Economic, it gets them more trade. This is how they have moved to Paitan. So once they had gone to Paitan, they naturally settled down there. And later, towards the end of their period, after Gautamiputra Shatakanya, Vasishtiputra Pulomami was unable to face the attacks from Shekas. See, they had gone to Paitan to expand their kingdom. Gautamiputra Satakanya defeated Shekas, Nahapanas, of all that. But later, after Gautamiputra Satakanya, Shekas became very powerful. Rudradaman and all that. So they were unable to face. Shatavahanas were unable to face attacks from Shekas, so they wanted to get away. So they have moved to Dharmikatakar, which is now Amaravati. That is how they had come back to Andhra. So this is the whole trajectory of Satavahana origin and their kingdom. So we can say on the basis of this, the third theory is correct. Satavahanas were originally Telugus. They actually hailed from Telangana, Amravati, Kotlingala. But in those days, Andhra and Telangana difference was not there. So you have to say Andhra means Telugu. Telugu origin or Andhra origin has to be written. And Andhra as is the present Andhra Pradesh has become the hub of Shatavahana activity. It has become a cultural capital of Satavahanas, even if they had political capital at Paitan. That is how we have three capitals now. Right? In Andhra, legislative, executive, and like that. Earlier, there are two capitals in the Shatavahana time, whereas the Paitan was the political seat, and Amaravati, Dhanikatak, Nagarjunakonda region was with the cultural aspects. So, friends, this is how we need to see. In the end, you say on the basis of this, we can say that Satavahanas were originally Andhras, but became more popular in Maharashtra in their peak time and ruled all over Andhra, Telangana, and also parts of Karnataka, etc. So this is about the origin. This is the most expected question. Do you think Satavahanas had, or from Andhra or whatever? So this is where we'll stop today. And I am requested to log in every day at 8 o'clock, and the live classes will go on. This will be available after some time for the recording also. You can access with the password and login that I have been given. It's not a public access. Those students who have paid fee, they are being given access. So that's it, friends. You can call me on any doubts or my number. Okay. So for updates, you please see the notices or the ticker on the website for the class timings and others. The mails are also being sent. There is absolutely no need to send any mail every day. If you log in, class will begin at 8 o'clock. It will be there. So you can log in and watch the class. Thanks for being with me today. We'll have 1 hour class. Of course, today we still have some time. But in the first day, I just stopped because I expected some more to come in tomorrow without any breaks. Of course, Monday to Friday we'll have class, but without any breaks, we'll complete Andhra history in a very, very comprehensive, yet rapid and speedy manner. Okay. So thanks. We'll meet in the next class.